Welcome to the Akashic Reading Podcast, presented by AkashicReading.com, the place where you can learn to access your soul's wisdom, or at least stop digging the hole any deeper. I'm your host, Terry Uktana, and today we'll be discussing 4 techniques you can use to help keep your manifestation processes steady, on target, and robust in times of intense transformation. Most people learn to manifest a bit like an athlete preparing for competition. They use their mind to envision exactly what needs to happen, what the end result should be, and what their life will be like when it happens. They engage their willpower to keep those thoughts present and avoid any thoughts to the contrary, as well as wrangling their emotions away from doubt and into positive affirmations and assent, all of which swing the odds of success in their favor. It's not a guarantee, but it removes all the barriers which are within the control of the individual, whether athlete or manifester. Conscious effort and actions try to narrow down external negative factors and smooth the way for success. Then it's a matter of showing up and doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done. If things don't work out, then it's back to the drawing board. In corporate terms, there's a need to do a postmortem to see what went wrong and what can be done differently the next time to get the right result. Wash, rinse, repeat. This perspective relies on 2 large assumptions to be effective. The first being we're not in the midst of one or more of the big 5 stressful things in life: death of a loved one, divorce, moving, major illness or injury, or job loss. If we are, then the manifesting stops being proactive and becomes reactive, working to help us resolve these situations to the best of our ability. Once complete, we can re-engage in positive manifesting, which is what is meant by getting back on our feet again. The second assumption is the world around us stays mostly the same while we're doing all this. One of the most disruptive things for an athlete prepared to compete is when the conditions or the venue change rapidly and without warning. Weather, timing, place all need to stay set and steady for an athlete to perform at their best and achieve the goal. So what happens when the world begins to engage in manifesting, creating, and transforming instead of operating normally? Or what if deep wounds which we've kept in the background in order to keep things moving in our day-to-day no longer agree to stay back? Or what if more than 2 of the most stressful things are happening at once? What if the world around you starts changing in drastic ways and this negatively affects you or people you care about? How is it possible to manifest success in times of intense transformation? Well, start with who you are. No matter what is happening, you have quick and decisive access to your essential self. This doesn't require sacred space to be set, no mantras or prayers need to be said, and you don't have to get into any type of meditative state. Wherever you are, okay, not while you're driving or operating heavy machinery, keep both hands on the wheel. Stop for a moment, then put one hand over your heart and the other over your tummy above your belly button. Press gently like you're hugging a small child. Breathe into the center area and let yourself feel your spark of divinity. It's not necessarily something which will transport you into timelessness, but it will feel very much you. Rather than trying to ground energy or ground into the world around you, let yourself integrate and ground into the fact you are and you are being in this moment. Think of this like home base in a game of tag. When things get to be too much, intense, confusing, or overwhelming, tag back into home base. Next, you might be able to realize you're more intuitive than you think. Some people think of it as instinct, others can feel the intuition process engage, and some come to experience this as I just know. But we all have an innate survival instinct which is about more than just protecting us from that tiger over there. Fear and anxiety are loud voices which can hijack a situation or conversation. Intuition and our internal knowing are quieter, but they are much more persistent, and often they are saying contrary things to what the problem-solving logic brain is shouting. It's not uncommon for people to think they need to build up their intuition or learn how to engage it when what they actually need is to stop talking over it with should or have to or that's just the way it is. If you're regularly feeling something about a situation, a person, a goal, or a place, one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself is say, yes, this is true, I'll figure out why later. Then act on what you feel. Is this a magic bullet which will make you 100% correct and magical immediately? Nope. Like any skill, at the beginning it's awkward, takes focus to do every part of, and we will make mistakes. Often. Just remember what it's like to learn to drive or to play an instrument or work an app on your phone. We weren't good at those things initially, but with time and repetition, we got better and better to the point where it's second nature now. So then you can look at whether you're in or you're out. The actual process of manifesting is often like baking bread or making pastry. You can't just plow through each step as fast as possible to end up with the product you want in the least amount of time. Bread dough needs time or times to rise or proof. Pastry dough may need to chill before you work with it, or need to be folded so as not to overwork and get tough. Our minds may think we need to do one more thing, work one more hour, try one more option, but our inner knowing is sure what we need to do is to back up and check out for a while. Aspects of the process which don't involve us directly may need time to come together and put things in place. Or we may need to take time out to rest from all we've done so far. Like any good cook, we may need to step back from things, evaluate how they're going so far, have a little taste, be prepared to make adjustments, and then move on to the next step. The process to date may have gifted us insights, new information, or even wisdom we need a minute to incorporate. Or it may have opened doors to things we didn't know about ourselves which need evaluation, support, healing, or encouragement. Going inwards and checking out from the active part of manifesting for a bit may be the absolute perfect thing to do and guarantee the success of what you're trying to bring into being. On the other hand, you may find you need to move out of yourself and more fully into the process. Sometimes rules, laws, organizations, processes, regulations, committees, and more are firmly planted not only in your way, but in the way of others. While our minds and our nervous system might feel we're stuck and at an impasse, intuition and internal knowing can lead us to acts of activism, advocacy, and organization, which changes the landscape, turning personal success into an even broader and more impactful triumph. So you may need to check out of the big picture for a while and be with yourself for things to move forward. Or you may need to unfold more fully, be more proactive in your life than you would normally be in order to harmonize with your heart and soul. And then there's checking in with your layer. While spiritual community tends to talk about energy as if it is one thing, like the Force in Star Wars, energy is like wind or water or earth. It comes in many forms, is complex in its interactions, and can end up being something we work with or work against depending on the situation. For example, those who want to climb Mount Everest need to contend with very thin air, and so bring oxygen supplies with them and also work to have their bodies function on reduced oxygen amounts for long periods of time. Deep-sea divers use equipment which can withstand water pressure at the levels they want to explore so they don't get crushed. Most of us live in multiple layers of energy simultaneously. There is the world layer of the seasons, which we experience as types of weather and seasonal eating. There is also the governance or political layer, which operates within nations and territories, but also between them, fostering trade, navigating disputes, struggling with conflicts, and working to define who and how people should be a part of them. The most recognized layer is the personal and professional layer of lived life. This is where most, not all, manifesting occurs and where individuals have the most ability to affect change in their lives and those around them. It's the day-to-day of work, hobbies, relationships, family, vacation, pets, and travel. There's also the internal layer, which is the universe within each individual. The internal landscape which is our true selves and is ever-changing. And there is the physical world as it lives and grows apart from or independent with the actions of humans. At any given time, these layers not only are not working in harmony, but they are often working at cross purposes to each other. Land may refuse to be built or rebuilt on, and so plans have to be scrapped and the land left to itself, which is a common origin story for larger city parks. Politics might prevent a project from completing, or a project might prevent a government program from being initiated, leading to activism, revolution, governance, and legislation. Our needs to go inwards can conflict with the desires of the family, and so on and so on. A key to success in manifesting is tuning into the layer the project is on and allowing its current movement or energy to support the goal, while at the same time disengaging or loosely connecting to the others. This is like choosing a wave to surf to the shore rather than having to paddle all the way in. If you're needing to be inward-looking, then check out of all the noise going on in the other layers and minimize interactions at the family and personal level. If the manifesting project is something coming into being at the lived layer, then connect into that layer and don't let your efforts get sucked into the national or political layer. In every layer, energy is moving like ocean waves. In times of intense transformation, either our own, the world's, or both, these movements can be powerful and swift. They can knock us off our game, sweep our efforts away like a sandcastle, and leave us with less than we gained. However, we don't need to understand, control, or despair over this. Like surfing, we don't need to be responsible for or even try to control the waves. If the waves are too small to propel us, it's best to come back another day. If they're too huge and might swamp us, it's best to wait until things calm down. Most of the time, what we need is to connect with the waves to have them support us to the goal. If we focus on our end of the deal, being healthy, prepared with the right equipment, attitude, and physicality, then use our senses, intuition, internal knowing, and skills in the moment, we can decide whether we're getting up on this wave or that and how we're going to ride it. And that's all the time we have this week. If you're interested in knowing more, check out my website, akashicreading.com. Thank you to my patron of honor this week, Laura Rowland. If you're enjoying this podcast, please consider supporting it by subscribing on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you can join in weekly patron-only classes, see all my other offerings, and get regular updates about what I'm working on at patreon.com/TerryUktana. Thanks. Bye.